Lesson 3.1, Solving Quadratic Equations. How do you solve a quadratic equation by graphing and algebraically? Let's go ahead and do number 17. I see that there is no number in common for the GCF and there's no variables in common for the GCF. So that means my GCF is a 1. Because A is not 1, I have to do the area model. The 6y squared goes here. The negative 21 goes here. I don't know what goes in these two. I know that it has to be y's because the middle's a y, but I need to figure out what the numbers are. To figure out those numbers, you have to do your a times c adds up to b. My a times c is a negative 126. My b was a negative 5. I need to find what two numbers multiply to give me negative 126, but when I add them, I get a negative 5. So let's go ahead and start at 1. 1 times a negative 126 would multiply to give me negative 126, but when I add them, I get a negative 125, not the 5 that I needed. So now let's try 2. 2 times a negative 63 would give me the negative 126, but when I add them together, I get a negative 61. So let's go ahead and try 3. 3 times a negative 42 would multiply together to give me negative 126, but when I add them together, I get negative 39. So 1 didn't work, 2 didn't work, 3 didn't work, so we're going to go ahead and try 4, except for 4 does not go into 126. 5 also does not go into 126. 6 goes into 126, so we have 6 times a negative 21. If I add these together, I get a negative 15. That is not the negative 5 that I needed. So if 6 didn't work, let's try 7. 7 times 18 will negative 18. Will multiply together to give me negative 126, but when I add these, I get a negative 11. It's not the negative 5 that I needed, but I see that I'm getting closer. 8 does not work, so then we try 9. I know that 9 times a negative 14 would multiply together to give me negative 126, and when I added these together, I got the negative 5 that I needed. My list didn't get long enough. I needed that to go over there. So I just found the two numbers that I need are 9 and negative 14. Those are the numbers that are going to go right here. So that was a positive 9, negative 14, negative 14. Now that I have my areas, I need to find my sides. 6 and negative 14 have a 2 in common. Y squared and y have a y in common. So now I just need to multiply. 2y times a 3y is a 6y squared. 2y times a negative 7 is a negative 14y. Negative 7 times 3 would give me the negative 21. 3 times 3y is the 9y. So now that I have my sides, I know my parentheses. This is 2y plus 3. This is 3y minus 7. And this is my factored answer. Let's go ahead and do number 18. 16, 60, and negative 50. And negative 54. They have a GCF of a 2. Which means I can divide all of this by 2. So if I'm going to divide everybody by 2, 16m squared divided by 2 is an 8m squared. 60m divided by 2 is a 30m. Negative 54 divided by 2 is a negative 27. So this parenthesis is what I need to do at 2. This parenthesis, a is not 1. So that means I need to do my area model. I'm trying to solve the parentheses. So this is my 8m squared, negative 27. I need to figure out how to rewrite the 30m. The only way to write the 30m is to do my a times c, somebody better add up to b list. 8 times a negative 27 is a negative 216. My b is a 30. What two numbers multiply to give me negative 216 but add to give me 30? If you did negative 1 times 216 do multiply together, but they end up giving me a 215, so not the 30 that I needed. I'm really far away from the 30 that I needed. So I'm going to skip a few. Let's go ahead and try 4. So negative 4 times 54 does multiply together, give me 216, but when I add these, I got 50. I'm getting closer. 5 doesn't work, so let's go ahead and just try 6. So negative 6 times 36 multiply together to give me a negative 216. When I add these, I get the 30. So I found the two numbers that I needed. I needed the negative 6 and I needed the 36. Those are the numbers that are going to go right here. So -6, -6, 36, 36. Now that I have my areas, I need to find my sides. 8 and 36 have a 4 in common. M squared and M have an M in common. As soon as I found the 4M, everybody else is multiplication. 4M times 2M would give me 8M squared. 4M times 9 would give me 36M. 9 times a -3 would give me the -27. -3 times 2M is a -6M. Now that I have my sides, I know my parentheses, 4M minus 3 and 2M plus 9. Number 20, 8, 56, and 96. All of these can be divided by 8. So here's my GCF of an 8. I need to know what was left over. 8y squared divided by 8 is a y squared. 56y divided by 8 is a 7y. 96 divided by 8 is a positive 12. The 8 is already factored out. Now I just need to do this parenthesis right here. A is 1. So since A is 1, I know that that parenthesis can now automatically be broken up into two parentheses. Y squared, the only way to get y squared is y times y. I now just need to figure out what these two spaces are. And we do that with the A times C. Somebody better add up to B list. And you're doing it to the parenthesis that we're trying to now break up. A times C is 12. B is 7. What two numbers multiply to give me 12, but add to give me 7? 4 and 3 multiply to give me 12. When you add them, you get 7. So that was a positive 4, and that was a positive 3. So we just factor number 20, and you're done. 19. 9, -12, and 4 have no number GCF in common, and there are no variable GCFs in common. So this is the simplest form. A is not 1, which means we have to use the area model. 9x squared goes here, 4 goes here. We have to split the x, but we don't know how. The only way to figure it out is to do your A times C adds up to B list. 9 times 4 is a 36. My B is a -12. What two numbers multiply to give me 36, but when I add them, I get a -12? I know -1 times -36 will multiply to give me positive 36, but when I add them, I get a -37, so that doesn't work. Try 2. -2 times a -18 multiply together to give me -36, but when I add them, I get a -20, not the -12, so that didn't work. So we're going to try 3. -3 times a -12 multiply together to give me 36, but when I add them, I get a -15. That didn't work. So now let's try 4. -4 times -9 multiply together to give me 36, but when you add them, you get a -13, not the -12. 5 doesn't work, so now let's try 6. -6 times -6 multiply together to give me 36, but when I add them, I get -12, which is the number that we needed. So that meant that these are the two numbers that need to go into these two spots. So -6 goes here, this -6 goes here. Now that I have the areas, I need to find the sides. 9 and -6, what do they have in common? They have 3. X squared and x have an x in common. Now that I found the 1, we're just going to go around and multiply. 3x times 3x is a 9x squared. 3x times a -2 is a -6x. -2 times a -2 is the positive 4. -2 times a 3x is a -6x. So these sides are my parentheses. 3x minus 2, 3x minus 2. There's another 3x minus 2, so there's a 3x minus 2. And you just factored that.